Hi guys, this is Miss Fagan here. I'm just going to run through for our first lab, which is Taffy Apple Dip, that we're going to do together. I just finished washing my hands, my hair is pulled up, I have my apron on, and of course my closed-toed shoes. Obviously I'm here by myself, so mask, I don't really have to wear a mask right now, but as far as lab goes, you will have to wear a mask in lab just because we're so close together in the kitchen, etc. Okay, so for Taffy Apple Dip, if you looked online, I gave you a link of the actual recipe, so hopefully maybe you can try this at home because it really doesn't require too many ingredients for you to get started. Okay, so what we're going to go through is the recipe, and I'm going to call out what it needs. It says 4 ounces of cream cheese, so cream cheese comes in an 8-ounce container, and so exactly 4 ounces would be half of it. Half a cup of brown sugar, so we have our bag of brown sugar here. We need 1 tablespoon of vanilla and 2 apples, and then a tablespoon of the lemon juice. Okay, now when you come up for lab, you're going to get a red tray and you're going to have your measuring equipment there for you in your kitchen. So you're going to grab your measuring baskets. For the first couple labs, I'm going to tell you specifically what other items you're going to need to put on your tray. So for this particular one, you're going to need 2 bowls, you're going to need a spoon, and just a regular butter knife that you have in your drawers. So this is what I would call a ready tray that you'd come up for your group to measure for your team. So who's ever your supply manager or your head chef for your group, they're the only ones that are going to come up for your team to measure. So we're not having the whole team up here, just one at a time, to make sure that you have the correct ingredients. Okay, so if I was to come up for these ingredients, so we're just going to kind of move this up a little bit so that way you can kind of see a little better, and if you can't, you can probably see in the mirror there as well. So we're going to start from the beginning. So we have our 4 ounces of cream cheese, so that's pretty easy to go ahead and grab. So this is what I would do if I was your head chef, is go ahead and grab my cream cheese. Then it says a half a cup of brown sugar. So we have our brown sugar here. As far as your measuring cups, because it is a dry ingredient, you're going to find a half a cup. So it's as simple as just reading where the handle is as to what is a half a cup. And then to measure a half a cup of brown sugar, a lot of times people just kind of dive in there, which is fine, but I want to make sure that I have exactly a half a cup. I don't want more than that. Okay, so this particular would be what I would call not an accurate measurement. So what you're going to do, and this is where your spoon and knife comes in, brown sugar is an actual ingredient that is so dense that you literally have to pack it in to make sure that there's no air pockets and you have the accurate amount. Okay, so I pushed it down, and then where my knife comes into play, I'm literally going to run it right over the lid of it, and that way I know I have a half a cup. Okay, this particular one can actually stay in the half a cup, or what our other bowl is for is to hold our ingredients for us. Okay, so we have our brown sugar done. The next thing is 1 tablespoon of vanilla. So again, you're going to use your measuring spoons here, and you're going to find where 1 tablespoon is located. So again, you're just reading where the handle is. Okay, and where you're going to put this is going to be a little bit different. You're going to have these small cups that are actually in your measuring basket as well, that for you to use. Okay, so this is where my ingredient is actually going to go when I'm done. Let me slide that over just so I have some more room. And I'm going to measure it all the way to the lid. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it into my small tin for me to take back to my kitchen. Because really I couldn't leave it into my spoon and put it on my tray, because obviously it's going to rock back and forth, and then it has a tendency to spill, and then I won't have the exact amount that I need for lab. Okay, we're going to have 2 apples. So this particular case, I have 2 apples out. And then last but not least, I have 1 tablespoon of lemon juice that I have to measure. So again, similar to what I used for my vanilla, I'm going to get my tablespoon again. You can mix the two because it's not going to hurt it. It's not needed for anything specifically as far as flavor. This is going to be for our apples at the end. So again, that's going to be measured. Okay, so I've measured everything at our supply table, and then now this is the only thing that I would take back to my kitchen obviously with our extra basket here for our dishwashers to wash up. But this is what I would take back to my kitchen, and then where your assistant cooks come into play. They're the ones that are going to take over next and actually prepare the dish for us. So let me slide these items over. So they're out of our way. Okay. So now we're back into our kitchen now, and now I'm going to pretend that I am the assistant cook for your team. Okay? The items that would be additionally that you'd have to grab for your group will be your knives. So a set of chef's knife, paring knife, and then for this particular lab, we're going to have an apple slicer out as well. So those particular things that you would grab also and bring it back to your kitchen because you will use them throughout this cooking process. Okay, so following the directions, it's laid out for you on your recipe there, steps 1 through 5. The first one says to mix the softened cream cheese, the brown sugar, and the vanilla. You're going to actually be using your KitchenAid mixers, so you all have a stand-up KitchenAid mixer that you're going to use. This particular one in all your kitchens actually has 2 holes on either side of the bowl, and it has 1 handle. The handle is for you to actually guide it into the mixer, and you're going to hold it or kind of guide it into the holes on the side, and you just kind of snap it into place so that way the bowl's not going to move. You kind of know that it's secure.
Attention teachers and staff,
because
if your last name begins with a
that
C
way
or D,
won't roll
please
around.
come up to the front office. Again, if your last name starts with a C or D, please come up to the front office.
Okay. We're still in school, by the way. But anyways, the second step for your KitchenAid mixer is the nozzle head that we're going to be using. So everyone has the same ones, okay? And it's like a tongue and groove lock. So it's just by guiding it into the hole and just locking it into place. Now our mixer is ready to go, okay? So the direction says to go ahead and mix our softened cream cheese, our brown sugar, and our vanilla. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to put our softened cream cheese. We had our spoon. We're going to drop our cream cheese in there. Okay, our brown sugar. That's in there as well. And then last but not least, our vanilla is going to be added. Okay. This particular model has a lever on the side, because if I was to turn this on right now, it's not doing anything. It's not stirring anything that's in there, and hopefully that you could probably see that in the mirror above. However, the lever on the side, it actually raises up the bowl, and it's just by, again, locking into place so it stays there, so it's stable, and then you can go ahead and run it. So an easy thing about the mixers is you just let it run, and it's going to do the hard work for you. So we're just going to let that run for a minute. See how it goes. Okay, so for the most part, it's mixed. We're going to use our rubber spatula here, and we're going to scrape the edges to make sure that we're getting all the contents of the actual ingredients inside. Because we don't want anything left unmixed, because then you have like a crunchy piece of brown sugar. You could have a big piece of cream cheese that's just not as sweet and flavorful as the whole dip should be. So just kind of rub it against the sides. And then we're going to let it run for one more minute or two. well. So to finish it off, we're going to go ahead and take the nozzle head off so it's easier for us to get the contents out. We're going to go ahead and scrape what we have on the head of the nozzle here. Now our dishwashers would go ahead and start washing some of our items that we were putting in the sink for them. And this part of this recipe is done, which is our dip. Okay. Scrape off some of our dip here. Okay, so our dip is there. Now let's go ahead and work on our apples. All your fruits and vegetables will need to be washed well before you go ahead and start cutting them, because when we have lab, it's going to be like this whole mound of apples for every kitchen. It's just not going to be the 2 that you're going to need for this particular case. But that being said, you're going to have to wash them. You're washing them because obviously our farmers are going to use pesticides and chemicals to keep the bugs away from them, so that way we have this product. Also, it uses cow manure to fertilize them so they grow so well. So those 2 things, I definitely want to make sure that they're washed and cleaned off before I go ahead and start cutting into them. So for example, we're just going to do the one here for right now, but I'm going to encourage you to use the apple slices for this particular lab. So there will be enough for everyone, or for every kitchen to use. And basically you're just guiding it into the core of the apple first. So step 1 would be just kind of pressing down to kind of break the seal of the apple. And then you're just going to go ahead and slide it down easily enough. Now this side is going to be the sharp side of your apple slicer. So you definitely don't want to push your thumbs through on this side because you have the tendency to probably cut yourself. Keep the apple slicer down and you just kind of pull the apple pieces towards you, and it's going to pop out really easily. Okay, again, this is the side that's not sharp. This is the side that's sharp. So if you do have a piece of apple core in the middle, push it down or push it out on the side that obviously that's not sharp. Okay, so we kind of have this cored out. So this particular items would be considered compost, and our science department loves us for that because it helps our plants grow here in the science area. But we're looking at our apples, and let's say they're a little bit too big. Some of us don't like such large apples. So this is where your knives are going to come into play. Then both knives will be out for you to use, so use the ones that you feel comfortable. This is actually a smaller item, so I would definitely be using a paring knife in my case, and I'm just kind of thinning them out just a little bit so they're a little bit shaper or a little bit easier to grab. Now, if the apple slicer didn't work 100% and you still have like a little bit of core piece on your apple, actually ours worked pretty well, but I would again use the paring knife to cut out the core a little bit more, so that way we don't have those crunchy pieces in our apples. So again, you're just going to use your paring knife and you're going to slice them right in half as best you can. If you feel comfortable using the chef's knife, you can, but again, this is a smaller item, so not necessarily needed the chef's knife specifically. So we have our apples cut, and they're fairly well. So you would do the second apple, of course. We still have our lemon juice. So our lemon juice did not go into the dip. A lot of times the students make a mistake because they rush into it and they just dump the lemon juice into the dip. I will forewarn you, you only get 1 shot at these things. So the lemon juice does not go into this dip. The lemon juice is going to go into the bowl here, and you're literally just going to toss in the apples and just kind of gradually coat them with the lemon juice, so that way it doesn't turn brown right away, and the acid in the lemon juice is actually going to prevent that. It doesn't alter the flavor, I wouldn't say, for your apples, because apples are so sweet anyways, especially if you get them at this time of year, because this is the beginning, I would say, of fall, the end of summer. So it's actually a good time to start looking for apples and apple recipes. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and toss them in there. They're coated gently, and then our apples are done. Now the last part of the recipe does tell you to arrange the apples on your serving plate and have the dip in the middle. So part of your grade is presentation when we're all done with our products. So we're gonna go ahead and put our apples all the way around to make it look halfway decent. If something looks good enough to eat, more than likely people are gonna eat it. If it doesn't look very good, hardly anyone will try it. Okay? So this would be our finished product, and this is what you would take to your kitchen, or I'm sorry, your kitchen tables, and then you would make sure your tables were set and everyone can eat and enjoy. Okay? And you just grab an apple piece and you put some dip on it. And let's try our dish. That's good.